Tell you, feel very important. We got 1, 2, 3 mics here. If I could get 2 more, I think we'd be ready for a press conference, and I could take questions. But I think we're good. Well, of course, we're thankful for having the opportunity to get up here and speak a little bit. Today, I'm going to talk about Christian opportunities. All right. The verse there that Jimmy read off reading is the first one of a series of verses that I'm going to read here from Matthew 25. But these are some of the verses that I think really embodies a Christian and how we should treat and act around others. But in Matthew 25, verse 35 through 40, "For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you?" And the king will answer and say to them, "Assuredly, I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me." Probably a set of verses, probably my favorite set of verses in the Bible. It really kind of connects to us in a way that we really need to treat those around us and take on a Christian opportunity. But I want to make a quick announcement that some of you all may not be aware of, is we have a new member of our family. Not a baby. It's not a baby. We don't need any more of those. But we got a dog. All right. A few weeks ago, right the week of Thanksgiving, I believe, we came home, normal Monday. We got a pretty large sized yard there. So when we pull in, we shut the gate to let our little dog out. And, he runs around the yard. It's way too big a yard for him anyway, but he has plenty of exercise and all that kind of stuff since he's been pinned up all day. So we went off about our normal procedures, shut the gate when we got in. We got into the house there. Maxwell went outside to play. And all of a sudden, I hear him running in. And sounds like he's climbing on the dish or the washer and dryer. And I go in there. I was like, "Man, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm getting a dog treat." I was like, What? Why are you getting a dog treat? There's a dog out there. And I knew must be another dog out there. So we go out there, and I see, there is another dog out there. And I'm instantly thinking, this dog's trapped in here. It can't get away because we've shut the gate. And, of course, our little dog's out there losing his mind. And the neighbor's dogs are over there barking like crazy, too. So it's a bit of a show. And I'm thinking, all right, Maxim, give me this treat so I can get this dog and we can, get it out. Luckily enough, the dog was pretty friendly. I offered the treat out there. It took the treat. I was able to get a hold of the collar, check the collar, no name, nothing, no address, nothing like that. So then Maxim goes and gets the leash. We put it on a leash. We're able to go. I'm like, we got to see if this is somebody's dog around our neighborhood there or our area. So we walk around, going door to door. "Hey, is this your dog?" That kind of stuff. And, of course, to no avail, nobody's claiming this dog. And the whole time, of course, we're walking around, and Maxim in his head, his gears are turning. How are we going to keep his dog? And he's like, what if it's nobody's dog, Dad? What are we going to do? What are we going to? I'm like, I don't know. Just hold on. We're going to go to the next door. We're going to find out. Eventually, to no avail, nobody in our area claimed the dog. So we had to make a choice. A choice at the time, I'll say that. We decided, Maxim went on back to the house, and we went on. I was like, well, we'll leave the gate open. If the dog goes back to its owners, he goes back to its owners. We'll leave that. That's the easiest thing to do, because it could have just, been there, happenstance, and so forth. But as I tell this story about the dog, I'm going to relate it to our point here of Christian opportunities. All right. We're going to kind of look at how we can use these Christian opportunities to reflect, God's heart, and 4 kind of steps on how we can do this throughout our days or our life. And step 1 is recognizing the need. All right, the stray dog represents a need that might otherwise can be completely overlooked, not even noticed. Just as the dog can't speak to us, it can't tell us what it needs. I mean, I guess it could once it gets familiar and barks at you and stuff, but it can't really verbalize what it wants. Many people around us, they also suffer in silence. They don't tell us what their needs are. And the first step, as a Christian, is responding to those opportunities by recognizing the need. Some situations you might think of, a young parent at the grocery store, visibly overwhelmed, struggling to calm a crying child and juggling groceries. We've been there. That's an obvious need. An elderly neighbor who hasn't been seen outside for days and might need a wellness check or a friendly visit. That might be a need that we overlook. Some of us, we have family that we know and we keep up with, talk to regularly, that's elderly, but some elderly people, they don't have that close family. They may have moved off there. It's a good idea to be aware of those needs. A friend who posts something vague and kind of troubling message on the internet or social media, those are needs that we might overlook. Maybe we haven't talked to that person in a long time, and we don't really feel comfortable talking to them again. Sometimes a new coworker or an old coworker who kind of eats alone at lunch and doesn't really talk a lot, is isolated. That might be somebody's need. When I worked at Walmart, there was days that I ate alone, but it was by choice because I'd had enough of whatever whatever problems that came about. But those needs can go overlooked very easily. Jesus kind of constantly recognizes the unspoken need of others. In Luke 7, he notices the sorrow of a widow whose son has died and raises the young man without being asked. Similarly, God kind of calls on us to have those open eyes and hearts to recognize the needs of others. So what can we do? Let's ask ourselves, are we tuned into the needs of those around us? Do we just focus on our needs? Are we willing to pause our busy what God sees? So those are questions we need to ask ourselves to think. Is that us? Are we overlooking the need? Because the next thing we got to do is overcome the hesitation. Because that's the first thing is recognizing the need, and then we'll hesitate. Say, I won't worry about that. I won't do nothing yet. Maybe later. So in order to overcome that hesitation, we got to kind of get into that idea of, going back to the dog here. When you face a stray dog, you might hesitate as well. What if it bites me? Got lucky on that one. What if it's sick? What if it's too much responsibility? What if we can't afford it? That's a big one. Or all those are big ones. So the dog stayed around for about 2 days. Stayed kind of away in the yard. It didn't really come around the house, and we would just take our dog out, our little dog out on leash and stuff and so forth, and we kind of had peace there. So we kind of thought, well, maybe something else is up. Maybe the dog's just lost. Maybe the owners will show up. Something else. So we were patient, but we were also hesitant because, again, taking on another dog is responsibility, even not as much as a kid, but it's there. But similarly, when faced with opportunities to help others, we often kind of grapple with that fear, that doubt, or that inconvenience. I can't do anything right now. I have something to do, and I'm as guilty as most. We live busy lives. Today at Maxim's soccer event, I actually ran into a member of the Richmond Church of Christ who we've talked many times with him, many years since we've seen each other. But it's like, hey, it was a good meeting and discussion. But I was talking to them, and he was talking about his 5 kids and how busy they were, and I was like, oh man, we only got 3, and we're really busy. So our lives get very busy, but we kind of got to get over that hesitation and act when we need to. Sometimes when we are looking at that hesitation, you may see someone asking for money at a traffic light, And that hesitation is always there. If I give them $50 or $20, what are they going to do with it? Are they going to do something good with it, or are they going to go use it for something bad? It's a hesitation. So maybe not $20. I've seen people give meals. Hey, here's your a hamburger. It's not much. You either eat the hamburger or you don't. And that might be more beneficial. We don't always know. Sometimes there's events for the church that we have, and maybe we want to volunteer, but we don't really feel comfortable, or we don't really know we can do it. So we kind of take that, I'm just too busy to commit attitude. And that's a hesitation. Sometimes friends will confide in us about difficult situations, and we're unsure of how can I really help in that situation. They've given me this information, or they wanted me to do something, and we can be hesitant. All right, Moses was also hesitant when God called him to lead Israel, citing that he wasn't a good talker. I can't do this. I can't talk to people. And in Exodus 4:10, it says, "Yet God reassured him, saying, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." When God has opportunities in our lives, we kind of got to accept that, because he's going to equip us with what we need to do. So what can we do? What fears are holding you back, or stepping into a Christian, from stepping into a Christian? My advice, or what I would say, pray for that courage, that trust of God. He's going to provide for you, knowing that he goes before you. In 2 Timothy 1, or chapter 1, verse 7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." He's given us the tools to act. So step 3, taking action with compassion. And this is where the true test of faith kind of lies. Taking the stray dog home, feeding it, providing care, reflecting a heart of compassion. It is similar to what we need, similar to what we will encounter for those in need. It's not always enough to feel sympathy. We kind of have to act. You get that feeling when you do good, that good feeling. So on Thanksgiving Day, our dog, the one that we keep in the house, our little dog, he goes crazy. He is barking like a mad dog, and that's literal. The other dog has gotten on our porch and is just kind of pacing around on our porch. And our dog, he's barking like crazy. So we're going to have to do something. The dog is approached. It's on. We have to act. And this is in a way that the act or the action is being forced on us. So we got a few options. Get the dog, take it to the pound, shoo the dog away, shut the dog out. We'll see what we can do. Brandy makes a post on Facebook, says, "Hey, this dog's been around our house. Is this anybody's?" and so forth. The dog looks very hungry, and so forth. So we got to do something. Luckily, this was a complete accident on my part. A few weeks earlier, I had bought the wrong size food for Banner. He has the little tiny bites, and I'd got the medium-sized bites. This dog was a medium-sized dog, so we fed the dog. And of course, Maxim's like, we're feeding the dog, right? And I just looked down and said, might as well just go and start thinking of some names. And he was like, all right. But we it was that bit of compassion. We could not go any further. Here's the dog. We didn't know much about it, but it's staying around, and we fed it. So that's where we're headed. In other situations, in the day-to-day lives we may have, what can we do that shows that compassion? Offering to babysit for a single parent, that's something that's always something you can do. Delivering a homemade meal to families dealing with illness, or to an elderly family, somebody who's dealing with that grief. Helping a stranger whose car is broken down on the side of the road, always something. And the list can go on and on. In James chapter 2, verses 15 through 17, reminds us that faith without works is dead. If a brother or sister is without clothes or daily food, and we do nothing but offer words, for our faith is incomplete. We've got to have actions. Now, I say that, and sometimes people just need those words. Sometimes people just need that word of encouragement that you're doing good and so forth. I don't want to put that aside and say that's not helpful. That's very helpful. But in some situations, words are not enough, and actions are the next step. In Jesus' parable of the Good Samaritan in Luke 10:25 through 37, it illustrates that love is demonstrated through action. It always is easy to say we love others, but it can be absolutely difficult to act with love. It's one of the things. Do any love giving? My love is not really complete. So, who in your life needs help? What specific action can you take to demonstrate God's love? It might be as simple as offering a meal, again, a listening ear, or a word of encouragement. And that completes the third step of taking action, having that compassion. Fourth is reflecting Christ's love. As Christians, our actions should reflect Christ's love, pointing others to Him. This love isn't based on merit. It is freely given, just as God's grace is freely given to us. As I said, we're keeping the dog. And after we fed the dog, and we was like, okay, we're gonna keep this dog. The dog that night, the dog laid right next to our back door where the porch was at. And I mean, this was cold. This was a cold time to take in a dog. The next day, we got up and we tried to get the dog to kind of go into the garage, because the garage, it's not heated, but it's got to be colder than just laying outside. Well, we could get the dog in a little bit to kind of give the dog some food and stuff, but it wouldn't stay where the dog had laid. Hopefully that would keep it a little warmer. And then that night, the dog slept on the pillow and the blankets. The next day, we took it to the vet and got all that stuff taken care of and so forth. Again, though, it was really cold time, so we got this old toy house thing that the kids played in. It has like a sink and all that kind of stuff. It's made out of plastic. And we put it where the dog slept and put the blankets and the pillows in there. So the dog slept there that night. And slowly, this dog is getting used to us, and we're getting used to it, and so forth. But we're trying to give this dog some comfort, I guess, to say it that way. But in our daily lives, interacting with people, reflecting Christ's love, consistently showing kindness to difficult coworkers is going to be a thing. Slowly work and reflect Christ, because you have those people that, like, man, they're hard to get along with, but you are constantly being positive with them, and other people are going to see that. You might not get to the person who's negative Nancy, if you want to say it that way, but you might start getting to other people who also are frustrated with that worker. When you demonstrate that patience and that understanding, writing a heartfelt card to someone who feels forgotten, reminding them of their value. It's not that big a deal. I know my kids like getting cards, even if it's not, even if it's just happy birthday. Inviting someone who is new to your community to join your family for a meal. And it could be, and it doesn't have to be right as soon as you meet them. Hey, let's go have a meal. Maybe take a little time and get them to come and socialize and be just be friendly with them. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, Jesus' light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. When we seize Christian opportunities, we become a living testimony of God's goodness. And that, I know we sing that kid song, let your light shine, but that doesn't stop when letting your light shine will get you further than, berating people about any other things you might feel. Again, seeing that Christ in your actions. So consider how your actions might inspire others to be Christ, or to see Christ, by responding to opportunities with love and future seeds of faith. And it could take time. The dog has taken some time. It loves the kids. Like the kids, it goes right up to them, pets, lets them pet her. Oh, it's a girl too, lets her pet her, and so forth. And Maxim and her are really good. She wants to chase and play with them and all that stuff. They play together really well. However, and likes Brandy too for some reason, even though she has done nothing with a dog. But for me, who it's like the first few days, like you could tell it was a bit hesitant, and she would eat her food, and you could tell she was watching us as she was eating her food. I mean, she was hungry, and like if you made any sort of quick or any sort of movement, it was quickly like fight or flight, ready to go. And even now, she does come up and she'll let me pet her and all that kind of stuff, and she's friendly. But even now, she's still more hesitant around me, but quicker to go to the kids and let them pet her and so forth. But it takes time. It takes that bonding to kind of set in, and so forth. But still, yeah, Brandy's not done a thing for her, and she will go right up to her and want her to pet her. It doesn't make sense. But in conclusion, it does, but it is a random event, and it's not as big as some other events that we may encounter as people here on earth, but it's a metaphor for the Christian life. God places moments in our path to reveal His love through our actions. It's our job to recognize the need, overcome that hesitation, take some compassionate actions, and then reflect Christ's love. And that can be hard sometimes, but with patience and practice, we can do that. As you go about your week, ask God to open your eyes to these opportunities that they might pop up around you at any moment. Whether it's a stray dog or a struggling soul, step into at that moment and be God's vessel. Dogs, and years ago we were not dog people, and we've gotten two honestly really good dogs. The dog that we Leia, as we've named her, does not really bark. We've not heard her bark at all, so we're doing great. But when you look for that, when you're God's vessel, in doing so, you will not only kind of transform others people's lives, you also transform yours, and you'll walk closer with Christ. If you have any need with your connection with God, ask for repentance or joining the church, now is the time to come forward as we stand and as we sing.